The human mind, a labyrinth of conscious intent and subconscious currents, often presents a facade that belies its true workings. We navigate a world built on communication, yet within this intricate web of interaction, a singular, pervasive phenomenon thrives: deception, lying. It is a concept fraught with moral judgment, a transgression universally condemned, yet paradoxically universally practiced. But what if the psychology behind why people lie is far more complex, more deeply woven into the fabric of our existence than a simple binary of good versus evil? What if the act of deception, in its myriad forms, is not always the malevolent force we instinctively perceive it to be, but rather a sophisticated, sometimes essential, mechanism of the mind? Today, we peel back the layers of this societal taboo, venturing into the hidden psychology that drives us to distort reality, to craft narratives that deviate from objective truth. We will explore the ancient roots of this behavior, its surprising utility, and the intricate cognitive processes that enable and perpetuate it. This is not an absolution of deceit, but rather an unflinching examination of its psychological underpinnings, revealing the shades of gray that lie beyond the stark contrast of truth and falsehood. From the earliest stirrings of consciousness, the capacity for deception may have been an evolutionary advantage, a subtle weapon in the relentless struggle for survival. Imagine our distant ancestors navigating a brutal landscape where resources were scarce and threats omnipresent. The ability to mislead a predator, to feign weakness or strength, to divert attention, or to conceal a valuable discovery could mean the difference between life and death. This rudimentary form of strategic misdirection laid the groundwork for the intricate deceptions we witness today. It's a primal instinct, refined over millennia, that whispers of self-preservation and the protection of one's kin. Consider the animal kingdom, replete with examples of mimicry, camouflage, and elaborate displays designed to deceive rivals or attract mates. A harmless snake mimicking a venomous one, an opossum playing dead, a cuckoo bird laying its eggs in another species' nest. These are not acts of moral failing, but rather sophisticated survival strategies, honed by natural selection. Humans, with our vastly superior cognitive abilities, merely took this fundamental principle and elevated it to an art form, a complex social tool. But beyond mere survival, lying evolved to serve a critical function within the nascent social structures of early humanity. As tribes grew and interactions became more complex, the need for social cohesion became paramount. Unbridled honesty, though often championed as an ideal, can be a destructive force. Imagine a world where every raw thought, every unflattering observation, every uncomfortable truth was uttered without filter. Social bonds would fray, conflicts would erupt incessantly, and the delicate balance of community life would shatter. Here, the prosocial lie finds its genesis. A prosocial lie is not born of malice, but of a desire to protect, to soothe, or to maintain harmony. It's the polite untruth told to spare someone's feelings, the gentle evasion to avoid unnecessary conflict, or the reassuring fabrication to calm anxiety. No, that outfit looks great on you. When it doesn't, I'm fine. When you're deeply troubled, to avoid burdening someone else. These are small distortions, often enacted with benevolent intent, that grease the wheels of social interaction. They are the unspoken contracts that allow us to coexist, bridging the gap between our internal realities and the external demands of social grace. The psychology here is fascinating. It requires a sophisticated theory of mind, the ability to attribute mental states, beliefs, desires, and intentions to oneself and to others, and to understand that others' perspectives may differ from one's own. To tell a prosocial lie, one must accurately gauge the emotional state of the other person, predict their reaction to the truth, and then construct a plausible alternative narrative that achieves the desired positive outcome. This is an intricate cognitive dance, demanding empathy and strategic thinking, yet this capacity for prosocial lying also opens the door to more insidious forms of deception. The line between protecting someone's feelings and manipulating their perception can be incredibly thin, often blurring until it disappears entirely. The same cognitive machinery used to craft a comforting untruth can be weaponized to control, to mislead for personal gain, or to evade accountability. And this is where we begin to delve deeper into the darker currents of human psychology. One of the most pervasive yet often overlooked forms of deception is the lie we tell ourselves, self-deception. This is not a conscious act of malice towards others, but a sophisticated defense mechanism wielded against the uncomfortable truths of our own existence. We manipulate our own perceptions to protect our ego, maintain our sense of image, and reduce cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort experienced when holding conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. Think of the person who consistently blames external factors for their failures, never acknowledging their own shortcomings, or the individual who justifies unethical behavior by rationalizing it as necessary or for the greater good. These are not always deliberate, cynical acts. Often they are deeply ingrained patterns of self-protection where the mind constructs a narrative that allows the individual to maintain a positive view of themselves, even in the face of contradictory evidence. The mind, in its infinite wisdom and folly, becomes its own deceiver. This self-deception can manifest in countless ways: denial, selective memory, projection, rationalization, and motivated reasoning. We cherry-pick information that confirms our existing beliefs and dismiss anything that challenges them. We rewrite our own histories, subtly altering memories to align with our current self-perception. This isn't just about avoiding pain, it's about maintaining psychological coherence, about preserving a sense of self-worth that might otherwise crumble under the weight of harsh reality. The hidden psychology here reveals a profound vulnerability within us, a deep-seated need to believe certain things about ourselves, even if those beliefs are carefully constructed fictions. Beyond the self, lies become instruments in the complex social dance of impression management. We are constantly curating our image, presenting a particular version of ourselves to the world. In job interviews, on first dates, in professional settings, we strategically emphasize certain qualities and downplay others. This isn't necessarily about outright fabrication, but it often involves selective truth-telling, exaggerating achievements, or minimizing flaws to create a more favorable impression. The goal is to influence how others perceive us, to gain acceptance, admiration, or trust. The psychology of impression management is rooted in our desire for social acceptance and status. We want to be seen as competent, likable, successful, and reliable. To achieve this, we often engage in subtle forms of deception, crafting a narrative that aligns with the expectations of our audience. This can range from the innocuous white lie about our weekend activities to more elaborate constructions of identity. The crucial element here is the intent. It's about shaping perception, not necessarily about causing harm. However, the potential for harm arises when these crafted impressions become too far removed from reality, leading to a foundation built on falsehoods. Now, let us turn to the more deliberate, often darker, applications of deception. Lies as tools of social dominance and control. In this realm, the intent shifts from prosocial harmony or self-preservation to the acquisition and maintenance of power. Throughout history, individuals and institutions have employed deception to manipulate masses, consolidate authority, and suppress dissent. Propaganda, misinformation campaigns, and the deliberate distortion of facts are all manifestations of this strategic use of lies. At an interpersonal level, this can be seen in various forms of manipulation. The charming con artist who weaves elaborate fantasies to extract money. The narcissistic partner who gaslights their victim, making them doubt their own sanity. The ambitious colleague who fabricates stories to undermine rivals. These are not accidental untruths. They are calculated deceptions, executed with precision and a clear objective: to control, to dominate, to exploit. The psychology of the manipulator is often characterized by a reduced capacity for empathy, a heightened sense of self-interest, and a willingness to view others as mere instruments to achieve their goals. For such individuals, truth is not a sacred principle but a malleable commodity, to be shaped and twisted as needed. They understand the vulnerabilities of the human mind, its susceptibility to suggestion, its desire for certainty, its fear of isolation, and they exploit these vulnerabilities with chilling efficacy. They often possess a sophisticated understanding of human psychology, not out of compassion, but out of a pragmatic need to predict and influence behavior. Consider the phenomenon of gaslighting, a particularly insidious form of psychological manipulation, where an abuser makes a victim question their own memory, perception, and sanity. This isn't just a lie, it's a systematic campaign of deception designed to erode the victim's sense of reality. That never happened. You're imagining things. You're crazy. The intent is not merely to mislead, but to disorient, to disempower, and to gain complete control over another's mind. The hidden psychology here is one of profound cruelty, where the truth is sacrificed at the altar of dominance. Moving deeper into the mechanisms of lying, we encounter the cognitive load associated with deception. Neuroscientific studies have shown that telling a lie often requires more mental effort than telling the truth. When we tell the truth, we simply retrieve information from memory. When we lie, we must first suppress the truth, then construct a plausible alternative narrative, ensure its consistency with previous statements, anticipate potential challenges, and monitor the listener's reaction. This multifaceted cognitive process places a greater burden on our working memory and executive functions. This increased cognitive load is why certain physiological indicators like changes in speech patterns, increased blinking, or subtle shifts in body language are sometimes associated with deception, though these are far from foolproof tells. The liar's brain is working harder, juggling multiple pieces of information and constructing a false reality in real time. This internal strain, this emotional dissonance between what is known and what is being said, can manifest in subtle, often unconscious ways. For the astute observer, these faint signals can sometimes betray the internal struggle. However, repeated lying, or lying by individuals with certain psychological profiles, can reduce this cognitive load. For pathological liars or those with psychopathic tendencies, the emotional dissonance is minimal or absent. They lack the moral qualms or empathetic responses that typically accompany deception, making the act less mentally taxing. For them, lying becomes almost second nature, an effortless tool in their repertoire. This brings us to the more extreme manifestations of deceptive behavior, psychopathy and pathological lying. These are not merely individuals who lie frequently. They represent distinct psychological conditions where deception is central to their functioning. Psychopathy, often characterized by a profound lack of empathy, shallow emotions, grandiosity, and impulsivity, sees lying as an instrumental tool. For a psychopath, truth holds no intrinsic value. Lies are deployed strategically and ruthlessly to achieve personal gain, manipulate others, and maintain a facade of normalcy. They are often highly skilled at deception, possessing a remarkable ability to read others and craft convincing narratives, precisely because they are unburdened by guilt or moral conflict. Their lies are cold, calculated, and devoid of the emotional markers that might betray a neurotypical individual. The hidden psychology here is a chilling efficiency in the art of manipulation, where the moral compass is either broken or simply non-existent. Pathological lying or mythomania is different. It's a compulsive and often self-defeating pattern of telling elaborate fantastical lies without a clear external motive or benefit. These individuals often seem to believe their own fabrications, or at least become deeply invested in them. Their lies are not always malicious. They can be grandiose stories of personal achievement, fabricated illnesses, or dramatic adventures. The underlying psychology is complex, often linked to deep-seated insecurities, a need for attention, or a desperate attempt to escape a mundane or painful reality. The lies become a coping mechanism, a way to construct a more desirable identity or existence, even if it eventually leads to social ostracization and personal ruin. It's a tragic form of self-deception that spirals out of control, where the individual becomes trapped in their own web of falsehoods. The continuum of deception also extends to what we might call situational lying, where circumstances compel an otherwise honest person to bend the truth. This could be to protect someone from harm, to safeguard sensitive information, or to avoid severe negative consequences. Consider the example of a person hiding Jewish families during the Holocaust, lying to Nazi soldiers about their presence. Here the lie is not only prosocial but profoundly moral, a direct act of defiance against evil. This highlights the crucial role of context and intent in evaluating deceptive acts. The not always bad aspect of lying finds its strongest justification in such extreme scenarios, where truth would lead to catastrophic harm. But even in less dramatic situations, the pressure to lie can be immense. Fear of punishment, fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, or the desire to maintain a positive self-image can all drive individuals to distort the truth. The psychology here is less about inherent malice and more about human vulnerability and the powerful motivators of avoidance and self-preservation. We often lie not because we are inherently bad, but because we perceive the truth to be too costly, too painful, or too threatening to our well-being or social standing. The internet and the digital age have introduced new dimensions to the psychology of lying. The anonymity afforded by online platforms can embolden individuals to engage in more frequent and audacious deception, from catfishing to spreading misinformation. The detachment from real-world consequences, the ability to create entirely fabricated personas, and the rapid dissemination of falsehoods have amplified the reach and impact of lies. Online, the subtle cues that might betray a liar in face-to-face interaction are absent, making it easier to maintain a deceptive facade. This digital landscape has become a fertile ground for the darker aspects of human psychology to flourish, where the distinction between truth and fabrication becomes increasingly blurred. The persistent question remains: what are the consequences of living in a world steeped in deception? On a societal level, a pervasive culture of lying erodes trust, the fundamental bedrock of any functional community. When trust breaks down, cooperation falters, institutions lose legitimacy, and social cohesion unravels. The constant need to discern truth from falsehood creates a pervasive sense of paranoia and cynicism, making genuine connection and collective action increasingly difficult. On a personal level, a life built on lies is a fragile edifice. The cognitive burden of maintaining a complex web of deceit can be immense, leading to chronic stress, anxiety, and isolation. The fear of exposure, the constant need to remember past fabrications, and the emotional detachment required to perpetrate grand deceptions can take a profound toll on mental well-being. Furthermore, the very act of deception can distort one's own sense of reality, blurring the lines between what is true and what is convenient, ultimately leading to a loss of self. The hidden psychology here reveals that while lies can offer temporary escape or gain, they often come at a significant, long-term cost to the individual's psychological integrity. Yet, this exploration is not complete without acknowledging the paradoxical nature of truth itself. Is absolute, unvarnished truth always beneficial? As we touched upon with prosocial lies, sometimes the truth can be destructive, inflicting unnecessary pain, shattering fragile hopes, or inciting conflict where harmony could prevail. There are situations where discretion, tact, or even a benevolent untruth can prevent greater harm. The challenge lies in discerning these nuanced situations, in understanding the ethical tightrope we walk when considering the power of both truth and falsehood. The hidden psychology behind why people lie is a profound testament to the complexity of the human mind. It is a mosaic of evolutionary imperatives, social contracts, self-preservation instincts, cognitive biases, and at its darkest, a chilling capacity for manipulation and control. Lying is not a monolithic phenomenon. It encompasses a vast spectrum, from the minor social graces that smooth our interactions to the calculated deceptions that destabilize nations. We have seen that deception can be a survival tool, a social lubricant, a shield for the fragile ego, a means of impression management, and a weapon of power. It can arise from empathy or from its complete absence. It can be a conscious choice or an unconscious defense mechanism. The not always bad aspect forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that morality in human interaction is rarely black and white, but rather a canvas painted in endless shades of gray. Understanding this hidden psychology is not about condoning deceit, but about gaining a deeper, more nuanced insight into the intricate workings of human behavior. It is about recognizing the universal human capacity for both truth and falsehood, and the complex interplay between our internal worlds and the external realities we navigate. It compels us to look beyond superficial judgments and to consider the deeper motivations, the cognitive processes, and the contextual factors that shape our choices to speak the truth or to bend it. The dance between sincerity and subterfuge is an ancient one, and it continues to define much of our human experience. A perpetual secret whispered in the silent chambers of the mind. If this exploration into the intricate and often unsettling aspects of human psychology has resonated with you, and if you are eager to uncover more hidden truths about the mind, then consider subscribing to this channel. Join us as we continue to delve into the depths of dark psychology and unravel the enigmatic secrets of human behavior.